I'm not trying to overdo the absolute cinema intro, but if there was ever a time for it, this is it. This was far and away one of the best grand finals I have ever watched. We got to see Clix and Peterbot battle it out all the way until game 12. Venya, Pixie, and Marius put on an absolute day 2 masterclass. Which trio was able to qualify for LAN, who unfortunately failed. Saying we got a lot to talk about in this video would be an understatement. Regardless video starts though, please subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as we try our best to upload daily competitive content for you guys. If you want to support me even more, the best way to do so is by using code KDOG in the Fortnite item shop. Follow me on my Twitch because we watched this entire tournament over there. So if you want to watch any of these future FNCSs with me, just make sure you guys go drop a follow. Without further ado though, let's talk about how Peterbot stole Clix's FNCS win. So in first place, yes, it is the trio of Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot. Now this came down to the very final game. Like I said earlier, I think there was like a 30-point difference going into it. We saw Peterbot's trio and Clix's trio going head to head throughout the entirety of game 12. I'm going to try to show some clips up on the screen, the multiple different times that they ran into each other, but this pretty much griefed both of their last games, causing Peterbot to die to Surge, and then Clix ended up dying to Storm, giving Peterbot his 5th ever FNCS win and beating out Clix by just 11 points. This trio finished with 842 points total, won 1 out of the 12 matches, and got 99 total elims with an average placement of 6.5. They finished with the most elims in this entire tournament and were the second most consistent trio as well. This now makes Ritual a 1-time FNCS champion, Cold a 3x, and Peterbot a 5-time champion. I tweeted out, where does Peterbot rank all time now? People like Tayson said he's the GOAT. Miro even tweeted out a crowning gif of him giving Peterbot the GOAT title as well. So you guys can let me know in the comment section down below now, do you think Peterbot is officially the greatest Fortnite player of all time? I mean, hey, you guys probably already know my take on that. I think him being at 5 FNCS wins now and being far and away the most skilled player we have ever seen, he is 100% the GOAT to me now. And even some other people that are in the GOAT debate agree with that. And I also don't think he's ever going to give that title away. Also, huge shout out to Ritual and Cold in this tournament as well. Peterbot wasn't looking like the far and away best player in this grands. He wasn't like carrying them or nothing. Ritual and Cold, both of themselves, put up absolute masterclasses. I hope this ends a lot of the Ritual slander as well. Ritual was playing so good in this grands. There was also some controversy in this grand finals of Peterbot potentially getting gifted the win because of kids that were landing on him that were in dead last. I've seen so many different like tweets of things, and I think people did the math and they fed them like 12 points worth of kills. I never to be the type of person though to say that a grand finals handed to somebody or nothing like that, especially when Clix's trio had so many chances to take down Peterbot. And for anybody that thinks that's like biased or something, I said that exact same thing when Clix won the last divisional cup of the season, even though Peterbot and Cold both crashed multiple games in it. I think us as a community just need to learn that things happen in the game sometimes, and we don't need to use that to discredit the people that win. Second place was the trio of Clix, Iamzo, and Higgs. They finished with 831 points, won the most games out of anybody in this tournament, getting 3 out of their 12 matches won. And the thing that was most impressive to me about this team is they were able to pretty much keep up on elims with Clix's trio, getting 91 total elims. We really were so close to seeing all 3 of these players get their first ever FNCS win. I think this was far and away the closest Clix has ever been to winning FNCS. This is also now back-to-back seasons of Clix getting his best FNCS placement ever. Clix's placements in the last 3 FNCSs are 4th in the last grands of last year, 3rd place in the first grands of trios, and then 2nd place in this grands. So does that mean that Clix is due for a win next grand finals now and finally getting his first ever FNCS win? He seems as motivated as ever. I saw Batman Booga was a little bit down about this. I don't necessarily know why. Like, this was such an insane performance from all 3 of them. Iamzo had an insane solo clutch in one of these games to even keep them alive in the potential running for winning. Higgs and Iamzo had so many crazy duo clutches, and Clix had a crazy solo clutch win as well. I know that these guys are all competitors at the end of the day and they want to win, but they were quite literally 11 points away from beating like the giants of NA, even though they didn't win last season. This team 100% proved that they are going to be in contention for winning FNCS every single season. They also were able to qualify for LAN, and you can say the same with the trio in 3rd place of Reek, Cooper, and Curly on 682. What a performance from these guys as well, from literally switching their IGL like a week before grands, going going from re-IGLing to Cooper to them being able to top 3 in grand finals when I really didn't see anybody putting them that high up. They finished with 682 points and got the 3rd most elims in this entire tournament with 68 total elims. I think the most surprising team for me on all of NA was 4th place in the last trio to secure their spot in LAN of Visuals, Braids, and Diminished. This team finished with 679 points, won 1 out of their 12 matches, and got 51 total elims. So that means that Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs, Reed, Cooper, and Curly, and Visuals, Braids, and Diminished have all officially booked their ticket to LAN now. Back to Visuals trio though, they were the most consistent team in this entire tournament, getting an average placement of 5.8. They're never going to be the team that is getting like the most fraggy or nothing, but they are such smart players, all 3 of them. They all also had individual games where they were clutching so hard for this trio. These guys also played out of their minds today. 5th place, I think, unfortunately, I do have to say this was the most disappointing team. Even though they finished in 5th place isn't necessarily bad, but in their standards, that is definitely not what this trio expected. The trio of Agers, Acorn, and Poyo, last season's FNCS champions. This trio really was just pretty underwhelming throughout this whole tournament. They didn't have any like super crazy moments or nothing. And for a team that I predicted to finish in 2nd place, I just thought this was nowhere near their full capabilities. I wonder what the vibes are going to be like on this trio now. We already saw them try to split up at the beginning of the season, and we know the vibes are already not the best from them either. And so them underperforming is definitely not going to help anything at all. I don't think they're going to sign the disband forms. I think they're still going to stick together, but I do have to say I am nowhere near as confident in them going into the future now as I was before. I think I'm honestly almost ready to rate Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs higher than them, because I mean Clix's average placement since trios has started is a 2.5 in grands, and Acorn's average placement is a 3 now. I still do think they are a top 3 team on the region and a trio that is always going to be in contention for winning FNCS. I just did not necessarily love what I saw out of them today. 6th place, another trio that I felt like could have done better was Rapid Booga and Threats on 6-12. They just had a lot worse day 2 than they did on day 1. 7th place is a trio that had a better day 2 than their day 1, but still finished in 7th of Kanata, Bolt, and Sphinx. I don't know where either of these trios go for 6th place of Booga's trio or 7th place of Kanata's trio. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if either of these guys split up. Kanata was able to win the very final game, getting an 11 elimination win, so maybe that is going to be enough confidence for them to want to potentially stick together, since they do still see their potential. But these guys were just struggling with Surge. They were struggling to be able to make it into end games consistently. They finished with the 4th most elims in this entire tournament, so it's not like they don't have the fighting ability. They're just not able to consistently get those high placement games, and that is just never going to be a recipe for success, especially in a grand finals. 8th place was Muzz, Rise, and Yapko. It's looking like Yapko might potentially be moving back to EU as well, so Muzz and Rise are going to most likely need to find a new trio if they want to be able to qualify for LAN. I also saw this tweet that was very interesting to think about. It says there's only 2 more LAN spots in NA Central next season, and there's going to be 3 good teams remaining between Kanata's trio, Booga's trio, and Rise's trio, and one of these 3 teams is not going to be able to qualify for LAN. 9th place was Shadow, Curve, and Tyler, and then rounding out the top 10 was Taki, Eshu, and Vert. We only had a couple other big names outside of that top 10, like 15th place of Aviv, 18th place of Bucky, Okus, and Cam. Not the best tournament from them all around, unfortunately. And then Noah W plays in 22nd. Let's take a look at the final kin stats now for grand finals on NA. Starting off with the damage leaderboard. In 10th place with 10,711 was Bolt, 9th was Clix, 8th was Braids, 7th was Aviv, 6th was Diminished, 5th was Poyo, 4th was Cold, 3rd was Agers, 2nd was Threats, and then in 1st place with 15,600 damage, now leading his 5th grand finals in a row for damage, of course, is none other than Peterbot. I feel like this damage leaderboard on NA, especially this season, is a little bit hard to really react to, since there was a lot of trio surge trading. If we move on to the actual stat leaders though, Peterbot led this grand finals with 40 total elims, Cold had 81 assists, a 2.01 damage ratio, and then Storm Time with over an hour and 28 minutes in the storm, which is just absolutely insane, was Chimp. What a grands on NA, man. I mean, Peterbot and Clix's trio looked like far and away the 2 best teams on the entire region. Before we move on to EU, let's talk about how my actual predictions went. I was able to correctly predict 9 out of the 10 trios that would be inside of the top 10. The only one that I got wrong was unfortunately Bucky, Okus, and Cam, and that is because Vert, Taki, and Eshu finished in exactly that 10th place spot. The placements that I got exactly right were like Shadow, Curve, and Tyler in 9th, and then Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual in first place. Let me know how you guys did on NA, and let's actually move on to how EU went now. Now in EU, this was one of, if not the best grand finals I have ever personally seen. This tournament came down to the very end. We have to give a huge shout out. So many underrated up-and-coming players. I think this grand finals really showed us some of the people that are the future of EU. We have to start off with the winner of EU though and give them all of their flowers of Venya, Pixie, and Marius. These guys finished the tournament with 706 points today, won 4 out of their 12 matches, and tied for the second most elims, getting 69 total elims. The main thing that was in my notes going into this grand finals is this team is such a high ground trio, and whenever they're able to get high ground, they can hold it almost as well as anybody else, and they performed that almost to a T in this grand finals. Whenever these guys were on high ground, they pretty much won every single time. I am so happy that a trio I've been gassing up for so long was able to do so well in this grands. This also means that Denmark has also just gotten their first ever official FNCS grand finals win. It's kind of crazy that Thomas HD was not the one to get them that, but instead it was Marius. What a journey all three of these players have been on as well, from last season barely qualifying in the last chance qualifiers, winning the very final game, to placing third last grands, to now winning this one just the very next season. They 100% deserve this win, and they deserve the title as one of the best trios in the entire world. Second place though, oh my goodness, this team is going to be scary going into the future. We have the trio of Chino, Pablo, and Ferdoxy. This is one of the teams I am most intrigued about going forwards because one, this team was able to get uncontested mass medals 12 out of 12 games, or I mean technically 11 out of 12, because in the very final game we did see Mr. Savage's trio kill one of them out of the air, which kind of dudded their whole game and led to them potentially not being able to win FNCS. But Ferdoxy has already tweeted out that they are going to be landing the best drop spot for the rest of the year, which is what I predicted in yesterday's video. I see no reason why this trio can't just continue to be a top 3 team on the region now. This team also had a very similar story to Venya, Pixie, and Marius. They won the very final game of the last chance qualifiers and now play second place in grand finals together. It's actually insane how much of a come up this trio has had throughout the season. I feel like no one was really talking about these guys until they got like third place in the last Div Cup of the season. Then they had the whole off spawn drama with like Vino, and then they made Vino leave, and they started fighting Mr. Savage for a little bit, and then Savage left, and then they got uncon in grand finals to play second place in it. And this could also be an early conversation for if Ferdoxy is going to be landing at the best drop spot all season. We know that Peterbot's going to be landing at the best drop spot. Will Ferdoxy end up contesting Peterbot in globals, and how would that fight go? That is still a question though for a while down the line. I just wanted to talk about it because that is a very fun possibility for me. These guys finished with 669 points though, won 1 out of their 12 matches, and were the other trio tied for the second most elims, getting 69 total elims, and they were the most consistent trio as well, getting an average placement of 8.0. Now if you look at these zones as well, they really only got gifted like zone 1 game. We talked about this a lot with like Acorn's trio and everything, but Ferdoxy's trio also had to deal with some pretty bad zones, and so for them to still be able to pull off a top 2 is definitely one of the most impressive performances for me out of any other trio. Third place, oh my goodness, what a comeback for the trio of Pixstar and Demas. 605 points, won 1 of their 12 matches, 55 total elims, and an average placement of 9.0 when they had an absolutely dudded day 1. Now this trio was my most disappointing team of day 1. They were in 15th place after day 1, and in my video yesterday I said I expected so much more out of these guys. I've been saying that they are the future of EU for so long. I expected at least a top 5 out of them, figuring that they literally got 5th place in their first ever grand finals last season. So I mean that basically means that you would probably expect them to get even better since then, and they did exactly that, going all the way from 15th to 3rd place. I think going forwards now, as long as they are uncontested, we always are going to have to give these guys FNCS grand finals winning potential. Even though they have only all played 2 grand finals now, they are already showing that they are one of the best trios, if not the top 3 trio in the entire region. I have been so high on these guys recently, and I'm gonna continue being so high on these guys going forwards. I'm so happy that they were able to do even better than I expected them to do after having a very rough day 1. Huge shout out to this trio, man. What a performance. 4th place, a very unfortunate fall from 1st after day 1 by over 100 points, all the way down to 4th place for the trio of Ping, Walks, and Malabuka. Now these guys finished with 581 points, won 1 out of their 12 matches, and got 59 total elims. If you're wondering what went wrong for them today, they ended up getting contested every single game by Vico, Vino, and Flixie. They split the loot half the time. It was a pretty big grief fest. They only really had one good game today, getting a 9 elimination 4th. I think if this team did have Uncon Lone Wolf Lair for every single game, they 100% would have been in the running for winning FNCS, and they were honestly still in the running going into like game 10 of this Grands as well. Even though I did predict them to get exactly 4th place, and that is what they got, I still think they did prove me wrong to a certain extent, because they showed that they have the capabilities to be like far and away the best team in all of EU. It is going to depend on what Vico, Vino, and Flixie are going to do in the future now, and if these trios are going to continue to contest each other, or if Malibuca can go back to being Uncon. 5th place, I have to say, is probably going to be my most disappointing trio of all of this Grands on EU, of Swizzy, Queasy, and Murstache. I think these guys were the unanimous 1st place pick for winning this season's Grand Finals. They got 4th place while being contested last season, and so them going from contested to uncontested now, I don't think anybody expected them to somehow do worse, but they unfortunately only finished with 577 points, won 1 out of their 12 matches, and got 60 total elims. I think I expected this team to win a lot more games than one today. We saw Queasy tweet out, "I'm not gonna lie, I felt so lost this Grands. My IGLing was so bad, and I have no idea if it's my fault or the zones in the meta. Go next." This trio was still able to qualify for the global championships. I do still think they are one of the best trios in the entire world. This was just a very underwhelming performance from them. You can't even call them the defending FNCS champions anymore, but it is the trio of Vico, Vino, and Flixie. They finished with 561 points, won 2 out of their 12 matches, and got the most elims of 74. First thing, huge shout out to this trio. They made this Grand Finals so entertaining from day 1 of them doing the teeny strat, of landing at so many different POYs, to them on day 2 contesting the trio in 1st place for 6 out of 6 matches. I forgot to mention earlier, we also literally saw Malibuca not load into a game as well, so the luck was really just not on Malibuca's side at all today. Vico, Vino, and Flixie did still show me though that they can be one of the best trios in the entire world. If they're able to get a good uncontested drop spot next season, anytime these guys make it into endgame, they always have the potential to get like a 15 plus elimination win. I know a 6th place could be considered disappointing to some people. This was one of the most entertaining game plans I have ever seen from an individual trio, and I think them still pulling off a 6th place is very impressive. There is a little bit of areas of concern with this trio though, as they did kind of lose a lot of their off spawn like aura, you could call it, because it doesn't really seem like anybody is that afraid to contest these guys anymore, so that could be a level of concern for the future. Almost top 5 while doing a very unconventional strategy is still pretty decent. 7th place might be another one of the most surprising teams to me of Chris, Tayson, and Chicho. I didn't really see anybody putting these guys inside of their top 10 for Grands. I think they were in like 13th after day 1, and then they switched up their drop spot completely from going to Crime City to getting an uncontested Kappa Kappa factory, and they were able to finish in 7th place, getting 554 points and getting 59 total elims. This was also the last trio that was able to qualify for globals this season. If you're wondering how the global spots worked on EU, it is 5 total teams qualifying to globals this season, and since Vico and Malibuca both placed inside the top 5, then it rolled down 2 more spots, so Chris, Tayson, and Chicho were able to get that very final LAN spot. And then in 8th place, of course, Thomas HD has to get the 1 spot off the trio of Thomas HD, Uppel, and Panzer. They finished with 546 points, so we're only 9 points away from being able to qualify for global championships this season. They won 1 out of their 12 matches and had 49 total elims. I think this was a team that I did expect a little bit more out of. I thought they could have pulled off a top 5, and I guess they really were only like 30 points away from that. Still, you just gotta feel for Thomas, man. 2nd place so many times in Grand Finals, and now 1 spot off of being able to qualify for LAN. Hopefully these guys can come back even stronger next season. 9th place, I mean, hey, I got kind of fooled to believing in them once again. The trio of Seti, Hari, and Cammy. They did have a couple of games where they got like surprise conned by Vino and then like contested by some other random teams. They finished with only 43 elims, which was tied for the least amount in the entire top 10, and at an average placement of 10.8. I think it might just be time for me to let go of the Cammy, Seti, and Hari top 5 in Grand's prediction. They just won, don't have anywhere near the fighting power for that anymore, and they're probably never gonna have like a super broken POI either. And then rounding out the top 10 was my dark horse first team of the season of Pink, Nebs, and Kiro on 442. But what a stacked top 10 we had on EU still. We did have some other big names just outside that top 10 though, like 11th place of iDrop Sky and Scroll. Moneymaker finished in 15th. And the big one that I know a lot of you guys are going to care about, in 19th place is the trio of Vidil, Mr. Savage, and Rezon. They unfortunately only got 248 points in 12 total matches today, only got 35 elims, and had an average placement of 17.7. They did unfortunately have a worse day 2 than they did on day 1. They got surprise contested by a couple of trios a couple games. We saw Mr. Savage tweet out, FNCS finished not our best performance, but with 3 teams contesting / griefing in every zone going across the map, it wasn't easy. See you next season. Also, I don't usually tweet to complain about how the game works, but please, Fortnite Competitive, do something about how Surge works. Half the lobby trading Surge isn't skillful or fun to watch. I do 100% agree with the second tweet that he had there, but at least it looks like he is confirmed to be back for next season as well, so we aren't getting like another surprise Mr. Savage retirement or anything. I think as long as these guys stick together and none of them decide to like drop one of them to go play with somebody else, they should just be running it back for next season. I think there is still some very glaring things that they need to work on. Even though they weren't able to make it there often when they were in the end games, I feel like the IGLing could have been more like condensed to one specific person instead of all 3 of them trying to make some separate calls on what they think they should do. I think if the team though is able to alpha up a drop spot at the beginning of next season, or I guess the season after that, since there's no FNCS next season, then this team 100% has the potential to pull off a global championship qual spot. Like we literally just saw Mr. Savage get 8th place in last grand finals with Mongrel and Panzer. So if anybody thinks that this team is worse than that, then I think you are just a hater. Still though, probably not what a lot of us expected from this trio to do this grands, but very difficult to do well when you're contested. Shark, Trulix, and Noah Riley finished in 22nd, Chaptini and Skavi in 25th, Vastroki, Focus, and Yanis in 27th, and that was about it. Let's take a look at the final kin stats now, and these are honestly so interesting to me because of when I go over the elim leaders. But for damage dealt, in 10th place getting 9,537 was Pablo, 9th was Merstash, 8th was Noah, 7th was Hari, 6th was Marius, 5th was Swizzy, 4th was Ferdoxy, 3rd was Pix, 2nd was Pixie, and then in 1st place by over 3,500 damage, getting 16,877 damage, was none other than Thomas HD. So Thomas unfortunately somehow finished with the most amount of damage by over 3,000 and wasn't even able to qualify for LAN this season. Then I think one of the most interesting ones to look at in every single grand finals is the elimination leaders. In 10th place with 21 elims is a tie between Demus and Chicho. 9th was Marius, 8th was Chino, 7th was Thomas, 6th was Cringe, 4th is tied between Walks and Pixie, 3rd was Pablo, 2nd was Merstash, and then in 1st place by a whopping 10 whole elims was Vico with 39 elims. The reason why I said this is so interesting is because Vico didn't even finish top 10 in damage, but he still got 10 more elims than 2nd place. I think if Vico, Vito, and Flixie were able to somehow win this grands or even finish top 3, then there would have been a lot more discussions about Vico being like far and away the best player in this grand finals. But since they finished in 6th, he's never going to get the love he deserves for how insane he played this grands. So huge shout out to Vico. If we look at how my actual predictions went, the only like spot on prediction I was able to get was Malibuca in 4th place. I got every single LAN team correct besides Thomas HD, Upland, Panzer, and Camiseti and Hari. I was able to go 8 out of 10 for the teams that were able to finish inside the top 10. So an 80% prediction rate is not the worst. Remember, let me know what you guys ended up going in the comment section down below though. Other than that though, grand finals is officially over. The content is not going to stop though. I still have a lot of videos planned out for the next couple of days. I'm going to rank the current top 10 trios in the world. I'm going to grade every trio's grand finals performance and so many other videos focused around grand finals. Remember, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as we are uploading daily competitive content for you guys. Please just go K-Dog in the Fortnite item shop if you guys want to support me even more. YouTube styles are enjoying one of these 2 videos up on the screen right now, so go check them out if you guys haven't already. Follow me on my Twitter at ChiliKDog to keep up to date with everything to do with Fortnite competitive. Thank you guys all so much for the support recently. I truly do love and appreciate all you guys. Thank God for another day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.